Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to today's live presentation. This is actually a presentation that I'm doing for the benefit of the Cobblers and Leather Artisans Association of Nigeria. They have a WhatsApp group that I'm also going to be making this live presentation concurrently at. So while we wait for them to, they're going through all of the protocol stuff in that WhatsApp group, the way these things happen. Someone has to introduce you and all whatnot. So at this moment, right on that WhatsApp group, they are doing the protocols, introducing the national president and every other person who deserves mention. So I'm waiting for all of that to be done with, and then we will get into the meat of today's discussions. Let me remind you that the discussion for today is shoemaking principles and techniques. So, like I said before, it's a presentation that I'm making to the Cobblers and Leather Artisans Association of Nigeria. Of course, this is Pomo Bespoke. We teach, we inspire ourselves on everything around shoemaking and other uh, aspects of leather craft. If you've not already done so, we invite you to subscribe to the channel. Invite your friends to join in the live stream because it's going to be quite an exciting evening um, tonight. So I'm hoping to see you guys come in right now. Uh, Once you come in, it might be helpful to indicate that you're here. Uh, Let us know that you're here and give us a shout out. And then, of course, also know in the course of the presentations, I'm going to be saying quite some things that may sound controversial to some people, and of course, some things that you agree with. If I say something that you agree with, let me know in the comments. And if I say something that's not so, also let me know in the comments. So while we wait for the KLAN guys to get sorted out with their protocols and the WhatsApp group, you're welcome to Almo Bespoke Shoemaking Principles and Techniques, a presentation made to the Cobblers and Leather Artisans Association of Nigeria. Okay, I think that's my notification to say that they are done. Right, so let's get into the meat of today's presentation. So, ladies and gentlemen, uh, okay, so I'm ready. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to today's this evening's presentation. First of all, I'd like to say my warm regards, send out my warm regards to the national and branch leadership of KLAN. KLAN, of course, being the Cobblers and Leather Artisans Association of Nigeria. I'm very grateful that I was invited to speak to the theme of today's discussion, and I want to especially recognize and thank Mr. Fashioner, who has been following up on me since he alerted me to the fact that I'll be making these presentations today. He's been doing an excellent job, and I would like to say thank you very much. So today's presentation is shoemaking principles and techniques. So my name, of course, is Victor Onyebado, and I'm the owner of the brand that many of you know as Pomo Bespoke. In the course of today's presentation, I might be saying some things that are a little bit controversial, some of the things that you would also agree with, but whichever it is, let me know in the comments, and that will be well. I would also like to say that today's presentation is being live streamed on our YouTube channel. And for those of us who want to, watch the presentation live, I actually have PowerPoint presentations that I'm going to be speaking to. And I invite you to actually go to our YouTube channel and watch that presentation live. So I see that two people are already on the live stream watching. Gentlemen, if you're there and you can hear me clearly, let me know. And so that I, just know that everything is good, that the visuals are good, and the audio is also very good. On the WhatsApp chat for Kaylan, on the WhatsApp chat for Kaylan, I'm going to be pasting the uh, link with which you can log into the live stream on YouTube. So, Kaylan, guys, wait for the live stream right about now. So, today's discussion is on shoemaking principles and techniques. And I've said it is a presentation made to the um, Cobblers and Leather Artisans Association of Nigeria. And this is the content of what I'll be discussing in the course of the evening today. First of all, I'll start with a disclaimer. Then I'll talk a little bit about myself and my organization. And then I'll drill down into the principles of shoemaking. Then, of course, we'll talk about the techniques involved in shoemaking, and then we'll begin to round off and call it a day. But of course, in the course of today's discussions, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to put a comment in the comment section, and we will be very happy to avail you of the answers where we are capable of doing so. Right. So that's the rundown of what we are going to be discussing today. So I've said we're going to discuss basic techniques and basic principles involved in shoemaking. So as a disclaimer, I am a self-taught shoemaking hobbyist who somehow um, had some success with actually making things that some people liked. I actually started making shoes in 2015. And if you check back, quite a number of the newer people who are involved in shoemaking these days started around about that time. That's the time when the former president of Nigeria got into power. And the way the country was going, you didn't need prophecy to know that you needed another stream of income. Which brings me to the point that I want to make. I'm also a lawyer in another life. So I practice law in this city of Lagos, and I also do shoemaking. I'd also like to say that I'm a very, very opinionated person. So some of the things that I'm going to be saying here today are actually things that are actually very unique to me, things you will not typically read in any shoemaking textbook. Yeah, I do all of those, and I use those types of techniques. So bear that in mind. And that's why I have titled this slide disclaimer. And that brings me to the second point I want to make. I improvise a lot. So, and I'm going to be talking to you why that is not really a bad thing when, we are dealing with shoemaking. Then I also tend to speak plenty English. Of course, I'm a lawyer and I'm trained as one. So speaking English comes with the territory. Bear with me, but of course, I'll try to keep it on a D-low in today's presentation. Now, let's go right into about Pomo Bespoke. I've already told you guys that I started making shoes in 2015. About Pomo Bespoke, yeah, I major in making made-to-order and bespoke shoes for men. I'm also involved in handmade leather, small leather goods, like bags, bracelets, wallets, and all of those things. But those are exclusively handmade. So I stitch by hand and I do all of those. So those are the areas where I have had some success and some expertise. Then, of course, I also teach shoemaking. What I know of shoemaking, those of you who are on YouTube, you are probably very accustomed to Pomo Bespoke and what we do. We also have a consulting arm of our business, which is Shukademy, where we consult and teach in everything related to leathercraft, especially with a keen interest in Nigeria and sub-Saharan Africa. I would like to put it out here that those of you who have partnerships can also partner with us for your training needs with regards to shoemaking. Right now, we are running online courses, but we are willing to partner with anyone who is interested in person classes. So let's get into our discussion today: shoemaking principles. Shoemaking principles. I looked up the definition of principles and I realized that a principle is a fundamental truth or proposition that serves as a foundation for a system of belief or a behavior or a chain of reasoning. Now, this is plenty English. Long and short of what we are saying here is that the fundamental principles, the fundamental truths, things that cannot change, that govern a process, that govern the way certain things are done. Those are the things that are known as principles. Casting our mind back to shoemaking, what will we now say are the principles of shoemaking? For me, I have listed four principles that I think no matter the type of shoe you're making, no matter the area of shoemaking that you are involved in, these should be your guiding principles. The first one, of course, is safety. When you make footwear or shoes of any kind, they must be safe to wear. Footwear must be safe. So you can't make footwear with materials that are carcinogens, which is things that can cause people cancer or hurt their feet. So safety is a cardinal principle of shoemaking. Then, of course, next to it is comfort. Shoes have to be comfortable, they have to be easy to wear, and they must, of course, be useful. So what is called shoe must be utilitarian. So it's no point saying it is a shoe when it isn't useful. So what are the uses that we typically have for shoes? Safety, they protect our feet, they make us look nice, and of course, some shoes are also particularized for certain activity, like football boots, for instance, are shoes, and they are made for playing football. Then sprinting boots, then the ballerinas also have the type of shoes that they wear. And then, of course, people who work in construction industry also have those heavy boots. Most of us have also heard of things called cowboy boots. So that speaks to the utilitarian principle in shoemaking. Whatever it is that is called a shoe must be useful for the purpose that it is meant as a shoe for. So that is the principle of being useful. So the fourth and last principle of shoemaking that I want to speak of is aesthetics. Now, this is, it has to look nice. Back in the day when some of our grandfathers and our fathers were growing up, high-heeled shoes for men were a thing. You see men wear high-heeled shoes. These days, I hear they are coming back, but not like they were in those days. So what you make as shoes has to be in line with the trend of your day, in line with the custom of your day. So if you go to India, there's a certain type of shoe that they like. If you come to northern Nigeria, a certain type of shoes that they like. You come down south, there's also a certain type of shoe that appeal to them. All of these things are defined by culture. So that takes us to this underlying principle of shoemaking, meaning that a shoe must be pleasing to the eyes and mind of people who it is intended to. So if you are making shoes for young people, it must be shoes that fit their taste, satisfy the aesthetics, and what they aspire to. So those are the four fundamental principles that I wanted to point out as the principles of shoemaking. And now, why are these important? These are important because, like we said, they are fundamental truths. No matter what you do, no matter the corners you want to cut in shoemaking, you must ensure that it is not such corners that you are cutting that will impact upon the safety of what you're making. It is not such corners that you are cutting that might impact upon the comfort to the wearer. It is not such corners that will make the shoe completely useless. And then it is not also such that the aesthetics, the people who are wearing the shoes, don't feel like, they like what you have in store for them. So those are the four principles that I have listed right here. Now let's talk about techniques in shoemaking. So the first part that we've discussed is the principles. These ones can't change. So I mentioned to you when I was starting that I'm a self-taught shoemaker, and some of the things that I do are not things that you will see in textbooks. And now that's for a reason. That's because the things that I am controversial about are not the principles. So you can be controversial about the techniques. There are several ways to arrive at the same destination. So the techniques will logically follow the shoemaking process. So the technique is the step-by-step way of how you do what you intend to do. In the case of shoemaking, it becomes the step-by-step ways that we actually make shoes and footwears that people get to wear. And to discuss techniques, it's nice to follow the process of shoemaking. So I've listed some processes that are typically involved with shoemaking. The first of them, of course, is design. Before a shoe ever gets to exist, it has to be designed. We will talk about the techniques involved in shoe design in the next slides. Then, after the design, you'd have the patterning. That is what many people call pattern making. Many people who follow me on my YouTube channel know that I am very, very big on being very precise with pattern making. In fact, many people come to the channel for pattern making, but that's just one subset, one aspect of shoemaking. And in the course of the day's discussions, I would also talk about the techniques involved in shoe pattern making. So the next of them is, of course, the upper work, creating the uppers of shoes, and then the bottoming, which is the bottom part of the shoes, the soles, and all whatnot. Then, of course, you'd have finishing. And then, even though the next thing I have in this slide here, which is sales and marketing, are really not techniques, core techniques of shoemaking, they are also so very important because without them, shoemakers can't make any money whatsoever. So I've included sales and marketing. And of course, there are several things that come with them. There is branding, there is legal, there is insurance. So all of these are also aspects that require techniques in shoemaking. Now let's talk about the first one. Let's talk about the first of the techniques that I talk about, the techniques involved in shoe design. So I said that all of the shoemaking principles come to bear in design. So that means when you are, whatever technique of shoemaking you are deploying, you must ensure that all of those principles that we talked about of safety, comfort, utilitarian, that's being useful, and then of course, aesthetics, being lovely, being fine, that all of those principles that you bring them to bear as you design the shoe. So design must reflect these fundamental shoemaking principles. So now there are several techniques involved in design. There are people who design on the last. So let me see if I can see a shoe last handy. Yep, I should have one here. So this is what we call a shoe last. So some people take this shoe last and design on it. And then some people also don't design on a shoe last. If you're popular with my channel on YouTube, you know that I do both, but I tend to have a bias for designing on paper and not on shoe last. In the course, when I'm speaking about pattern making, I'll talk about computer aided design. So that's something that is coming up in the industry. In fact, it has been there for a very long time. But you know, that's something that people in these climes, in our Nigerian climate and in our area, have to embrace wholeheartedly, because that, of course, appears to be where the world is going. So I've mentioned that you have on last design and off last design. So you can design, you can take a shoe last, do your design, imbibing all of the shoemaking principles and and then design on the last. You can also do it on a flat piece of paper if, of course, you know the right dimensions to use. And you know, let me just dwell a little bit more. Let me dwell a little bit more on this issue of design. I see many people take shoe lasts, tape it, and just start sketching on it. That really doesn't, let me not say it doesn't make it doesn't make sense, but that may not give you the accuracy that you need many times. And then I also see people who just take one part of the last and then they start designing. The very last that you are taking one part of it, if you look at it very well, you find that both sides, the right side, which is called the lateral side, and the inside, which is called the medial side, they are not symmetrical. Now, the shoe you want to make, I admit, is a symmetrical shoe, but the last itself isn't symmetrical. So it's a part of shoe design to factor for both those asymmetrical things that you find on the last. And I actually dwell so much on this on my channel, and to the point that sometimes even I think that it's becoming boring. But the reason why I dwell on it so much is because it is such an important aspect of shoe design that many people ignore, which shouldn't be. So in designing a shoe, you'd have to consider who you are designing it for, and you also have to consider the hardware that you are using in designing, which is, of course, the last. Consider the fact that there are several points on that last. So some of the very, very important points on the last are what is called the center line, both in front and at the back. Then there are the balls, which are the widest points on the last. If I have this last here, I probably will be able to demonstrate it for you. So the center line will run in front like this, front. Then the ball will be, I hope it's clear. Well, I have several videos on my channel that you can go and take a look at. So let's not waste time on that. So I'll talk about the center line. I talked about the balls. Then there's the counterpoint. There's the vamp line. There's the vamp point itself. Then there's the instep. I call these the cardinal points on any shoe last that should inform shoe design. I have several videos on those. So if you want to know more about those, just head over to youtube.com/pomobespoke and avail yourself of all of the rich resources that we have there. So that's it for design. So I've said here that design can be on the last, it can be off the last, it can be on the computer, But whatever you're doing, you must make sure that you are doing it in line with all of the principles. You can adopt any technique that you want, but make sure that you are in line with the principles of safety, comfort, usefulness, and aesthetics. Now let's talk about another technique of shoemaking, which is patterning or pattern making. I said here in the slide that patterning is the engineering of various parts of a shoe so as to promote seamless and efficient construction, efficient utilization of materials and time and all other resources. So the reason why we do patterns is so that we have a very, very efficient utilization of our time, number one, a very, very efficient utilization of our resources, leather, for instance, and all of the materials that we are using in making the shoe. That's why we use patterns. We don't just take a shoe and slap leather on it and start working. So patterning is done so that you have an efficient utilization of your time, your materials, and you actually construct what you had in mind, the concept you had when you designed. You're actually able to represent it on a three-dimensional shoe that can be useful to someone. So there are different patterning techniques. There's the symmetrical and asymmetrical techniques involved in pattern making. All of these, you find videos related to them on my channel. So then, of course, there is also patterning on pen and paper. Then, like I said before, there's patterning on computer, which is called CAD, computer aided design. And there's a gentleman who, in the summit that we're having next week, OHECO, he's an expert at computer aided design. You can actually check him out on YouTube and on social media. He's OHECO Leathercraft. He's a guru with computer aided design, and I actually recommend that everyone checks him out and inspire yourself along those lines, especially if you are computer savvy and it is where you are headed. Of course, as the industry improves and as technology also improves, you find that computer aided design is taking over. Now, this is a bonus tip that I want to leave for members of the association. There is an organization called the United Nations International Development Organization, UNIDO. They have a free online course on shoe pattern engineering. I'm a beneficiary of that course. It's a free online course, so search for it on Google. And each time I go there and I see that not many people are taking advantage of these free resources, it actually pains my heart. They have a whole textbook on pattern making, which is free. And at the end of the day, I can share that PDF with you guys if you really want it. But then again, they also have a free course online for pattern engineering. So everyone should take advantage of that course. Then also online, my channel, Omo Bespoke, we also have free resources dealing on various aspects of pattern making. And we are always creating new content and updating even our old content. So I recommend that to anyone who is interested. Right, so that's it for patterning. Having spoken about patterning, let's now move over to uppers. So one technique involved in shoemaking is the upper work, which is actually preparing the leather for or whatever other material you are using for the shoes. Of course, we all know that not only leather is used in shoemaking. There's denim, which is what we call jeans. There's plastic materials that are used, plastic fabrics, and all whatnot. So the upper work, there are several stages involved in upper work. There is clicking, which is actually taking the pattern that you have created in pattern, putting it on the leather or on the material and cutting it. It's called clicking because Back in the old days, they had, when they started having shoemaking industries, they had whole rooms filled with many people who are cutting leather, and the knives that they used to make a clicking sound. So they used to call that room the clicking room. So cutting up leather into the different parts of the shoe, for coupling it together, in preparation for coupling it together, is what is known as clicking. Then of course another technique of upper work is closing, which is when you now take all of these parts of the shoe that you have clicked and combine them together. So closing involves sewing. So there are different types of sewing machines, different equipment that we use in closing. So you have your regular flatbed sewing machine. Some of them are called blackheads, which is the one that is most popular in our environment. Then there, of course, there's the cylinder arm, which is very, very useful for bag makers and shoemakers as well. Then there's the post bed, which is a shoemaker's dream, which has the advantage of being able to get into various contours of the shoe. Very, very useful if you are involved in boot making. Those of us who are gurus in the trade already know what I'm talking about. So various machines that are used in closing is also in closing that you do several things. Now, I mentioned that I use certain terms that you don't find in any textbooks, and that brings me to what I have called the in-betweeners. So these are the things lying in between clicking and closing. Things like skiving, being able to edge out the edges of leather so that they lap together seamlessly. That's called skiving, a very, very important technique involved in shoemaking that I don't think gets its mention enough. And I think everyone should really, really consider perfecting how to do it. Of course, there are machines that do those things, but it also helps if you know how to do it by hand. Then there is crimping, which is the one that people who make Chelsea boots and the other types of boots, cowboy boots, jod paws, riding boots, those are they need that process. In some textbooks, you find that it is called blocking. So you take a flat piece of leather and you dip it into water or some kind of fluid, and you actually mold it into a certain shape so that it is easier for you to do the next step that I'm going to talk about right now, which is lasting. Those of us on YouTube, don't mind that I'm using and speaking to my phone. This is because I'm also sending voice notes to the KLAN WhatsApp group. So that's the reason why I have it here, as you see. So the next step, of course, like I mentioned, is lasting. So lasting involves having assembled all parts of the shoe in the process of closing. You are now placing the shoe on the shoe last and molding it into the shape that you want. And it is at this lasting stage that the different types of shoe construction. I'm going to talk, a little bit more about the different shoe constructions that we have. But really, it is at this lasting stage that whichever construction that you are embarking upon, you begin to diverge into those areas. So I've mentioned that there are several types of shoemaking constructions. You have the cemented construction, which is the one that is very popular in Nigeria, the one that many, many, many of our people do. You just last the shoe and you glue the sole onto it. That's the cemented construction. Then there is also the opanka construction. When I was growing up as a child in the East, we used to call certain types of sandals opanka. I never knew that it was actually a type of shoemaking construction. So the opanka construction, there is a way the edge, the feather edge of the shoe is sewn to the sole for a much more durable fit. And that's the Opanka construction. Then there's the Goodyear welted construction, which is done by machine. And then close to the Goodyear welted construction, there is the hand welted construction, which is also typically done for bespoke footwear. I've done all of them except for the Opanka construction, and I probably should do it sometime. So lasting work. So the point I'm making here about these different aspects of shoemaking construction is that it is at the lasting stage that you now have to start taking into cognizance what type of construction that you are going to do. So it's at this lasting stage that you prepare your stiffeners, or what we call the front and back stay. It is also at this lasting stage that you will prepare your insoles. And if you are going to do hand welted constructions, then you are going to have to cut the hold fast. If you are doing Goodyear welted construction, you probably have to have your insole prepared with the canvas rib on which the welt is going to be sewn upon. And then, of course, if you are doing Opanka construction, you also have to prepare the insoles and the soles in a certain way. So insole preparation is a very important and fundamental aspect of lasting work, and then the upper lasting technique itself. I have a very popular video on my YouTube channel discussing lasting. I have what I call the 8 cardinal nails involved in lasting. So how I do it is how I do the lasting is I put a nail at the front, which I call the 12 o'clock position. Then I put 2 nails on the front flanks of the last. So the 2 o'clock position and the 10 o'clock position. Then I put a nail at the back, the 6 o'clock position. Then I pull down at the 3 o'clock and the 9 o'clock positions. And then at the sides. So with those 8 cardinal nails, you have your lasting done. I just found out that I didn't record for the WhatsApp group. So the point I was making is that there are 8 cardinal nails that I use in my lasting technique, and I have a video on my channel discussing that. I invite you to really check out those videos if lasting is something that you are still having problems with. I think this is also a good point to mention that we will be very happy if you send in your comments and like and share this video with your friends, and of course also subscribe to the channel. The channel, of course, is More Bespoke on YouTube. Right. Now, so after lasting is another technique, another process in shoemaking which involves several techniques, which is the bottoming. So there's the bottoming of shoes, which is doing everything to attach the sole in a very durable way that it also serves to protect the feet of the person who is wearing it. And then it's also done in a very nice, fashionable, and aesthetic way. So I've mentioned this cemented construction. There is also the Bolognese construction, the Goodyear welted or GYW. Then there is Blake. For beginner shoemakers, I typically ask them to start with cemented construction, but do not stop there. Actually do the Blake construction. The Blake construction is the cemented construction with the additional advantage of that you have sewn it round. There are machines that sew the Blake, or what they call the maquet or Blake Rapids stitching. But it's exactly the same thing that the Aboki does when you give him a shoe to sew around. You can do it yourself. You know, I get this, many people ask me all the time that the gum that they are selling or the glue, the contact cement they are selling in the market no longer holds soles properly. What can they do about it? I have given up on gums. I tell people I am paranoid about glues and gums. I don't trust them. I don't rely on them. Every single pair of shoe that I make, the soles are always held on by a type of stitching or the other. And I've never had problems with people complaining. In fact, I've had shoes that I myself have worn for 5 years, going to 6 years, and I've never really had any customer complain about sole issues. And that's because I sew every single pair. So if you are going, of course, if you are doing industrial and you are making so many shoes, then it makes sense for you to get this Blake rapid stitching machine to add that extra advantage for your customers. Of course, if durability of the shoes that you make is something that's important to you. So that's it about the Blake construction. Then there's the hand welted, and then there's another construction that doesn't get mentioned very much in these parts, and that's the stitch down. The stitch down is such a beautiful and durable construction that I'm wondering why many people don't engage in it. I actually have a video, just one video on my channel, where I demonstrated the stitch down construction. I probably should do it more so that I can inspire more and more of our people to do stitch down. I see South Africans, Tanzanians, Zambians do stitch down, but it appears that all that we Nigerian shoemakers tend to do is just the cemented construction and nothing more. And if you have any reason why you think that is the case, let me know in the comments. I don't really know why Nigerians tend to. In fact, it's difficult to find Nigerians who do Goodyear welted and hand welted. I know quite a number, but compared to the number of shoemakers that we have, very, very few. So I think we should adopt these methods even more and embrace them, just to show some versatility and diversity in our craft. So the last aspect of shoemaking techniques is the finishing. These parts involve polishing, burnishing, patina work. Many people ask, so finishing, like I said, involves polishing, burnishing. Burnishing is making leather look old in a lovely kind of way. It's actually a beautiful thing to watch. Then there's patina work, which is of course the same thing. Putting that burnt edge to the tip and around the feather edge, around the facings, making it look nice. There are techniques about how these things can be done. There are of course equipment to help you do it. And that reminds me, in the Leather Tech and Trade Online Summit that is starting next week, Wednesday, we'll be talking about these techniques and demonstrating them in detail. So if you haven't registered for the Leather Tech and Trade Online Summit, make sure you do that right now. The links are everywhere. They are on my Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Just look for them and you'll be able to register. So finishing speaks to the aesthetics principle that we talked about when we discussed the principles of shoemaking. So you are making it look nice. All you are doing is to bring out the beauty in the shoe. And there's a gentleman I heard, one of our people who passed away a few years ago. I understand he used to make shoes for senators, the vice president, the then vice president, Professor Yemi Osibajo. For him to get to that level, it means that he had mastered finishing. Many people in Igbo, they say that the eyes will eat first before the mouth does. So the food has to look nice before it is whacked. So the shoe has to also look nice to attract the wearer. This finishing part is what sets many shoemakers apart. And I'm happy to say that we have quite several shoemakers in Nigeria who are excellent at shoe finishing. Then, of course, techniques in post production, there are sales, marketing, legal, and accounting. If you need any legal consultation with your shoe and branding, I'm always available to do that. You want to register with CAC, either as limited liability or business name, or you even want to register your cooperative societies, shoemaking foundations. That's something I can also help. This is not promotional, but just wanted to put it out there that that's something I can help you with. So I'm beginning to come to the close of my presentation today. I want to conclude that the principles, like I said, are the areas where you should never compromise. The principles: safety, comfort, usefulness, and what was the last one again? Aesthetics. It must look nice. Those principles, you can't compromise on them. Whatever you're making, whatever type of shoe you're making, you must ensure that you abide by those principles. The technique, on the other hand, you can break. You can choose to do Bolognese construction with a Goodyear welted slant. You can choose to design on paper and not design on last. You can choose however you want to go. That's entirely up to you. The techniques is entirely up to you, but the principles remain the same. I like to encourage my students to break the techniques, know the rules, and then break them. What I do not encourage is sticking to one technique because that is all you know. No, try to learn all of the techniques, or as many techniques as you can. I mentioned stitch down construction. I mentioned Blake construction. Why stay on just cemented construction and be complaining every day that the gum they are selling in Mushi market or in Ariaria market or wherever you buy your gum from, that they are adulterating it? Why do that? Why not learn the other techniques involved and be able to at least choose for yourself that you don't like it? What I do not like in life is not to do something because I don't know it. No, I like to know the thing and then on my own choose that it's not for me. So the point I like to leave you with that: learn as many techniques as you can, stick with the principles, and then choose your techniques as appropriate. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I have been speaking to you now for almost 50 minutes. Wow. Been speaking for almost 50 minutes, 47 minutes, 58, in fact, 48 minutes on the dot right now. I'll be happy to take questions and comments if you have any. I see that there's someone here, Odeyemi Adeyemi. He's complaining that his internet is not very good, but he's asking for a link to that the United Nations Development Organization course, free course. Okay, that's fine. I'll make that available. I'll post it as a comment in this video on YouTube, and I also locate it and post it as a comment in the KLAN WhatsApp group. Then, so any other comments, I'm very much available to take them. Otherwise, we'll begin to call it a day. And I'd like to say that I'm very grateful to the executive, the board of trustees, and everyone in KLAN who helped put together this event. Thank you for having me. I'd like to also encourage you to subscribe to the channel, register for the leather tech and trade online summit starting on Wednesday. And with that, I would like to say God bless you. Have a lovely evening, and may this week be a most prosperous week for you. Okay, Ibrahim Lawal has just put a comment here. He says, "Can I please hint on patina?" Okay, patina involves aging the leather. Taking some time to age the leather as and make it look old in a beautiful way. They say old wine tastes better. It's the same thing with leather. When leather ages gracefully, there's a kind of beauty that it has as against fresh, untreated leather. There are several ways of doing it. There's spray. There are some spray guns that you can get and use that to age your leather, to patina your leather. I also do it with just polish. What I will say to you is, if you are having problems patinaing with polish, throw away that polish applicator that you are using. That is the biggest crime that has been committed in the world of polishing. You see that applicator, that thing is not meant for polishing shoes. It's meant for shaving beer. Throw that thing away. Use your fingers. These your fingers like this. Just touch a little bit of the polish and then keep on rubbing in the areas you want to darken in cycles. Just keep going in cycles like that. Once, when you start, it is smooth. Once the polish has entered the leather, you start noticing that it's becoming a little bit harder to go in. That's your indication to take some more polish and keep rubbing. And then sometimes you can touch your hand on water and just keep rubbing. You find that you have a smoother patina. So, Ibrahim Lawal, try that and let me know the success that you had. So, which other questions do I have here? Okay, Ademi said, in addition, sir, I would appreciate if you could provide us with your WhatsApp number. Okay, I'm not sure I can type here, but I'll just call out my WhatsApp number for you. My WhatsApp number is +234 70 101 95822. So I'll repeat that again: +234 70 101 95822. And it's also listed on my page. If you check somewhere at the top of my page, you'd find that it is listed there. Ibrahim says, "Thank you, sir." Thank you very much, Ibrahim. Yeah, somebody also says the bleak machine seems only to sew. No, 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 no. That's not. There is the cup sew machine. That's not the bleak machine that I'm talking about. There is a proper bleak machine that actually goes under the shoe and sews all the way around. There are a few people who have it in Nigeria. In fact, I've seen some Nigerian shoemakers in their videos, and I've seen the machine. I probably should. If you send me a WhatsApp message, I'll show you a picture of that machine so that those of our people who are getting grants or who have the financial muscle to import these machines can actually import them. No, 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 no. I'm not talking about that machine that sews cup soles. There is actually the blade machine that sews under the shoe, not just the cup sole sewing machine. So there is a blade machine that does Blake rapid stitching. Send me a WhatsApp and I will send you a picture of what it looks like. Is there any other question here? Okay, it says, please drop the full meaning of UNIDO, United Nations Industrial Development Organization. I'm not sure exactly. Well, let me just check on Google and see. UNIDO, United Nations Industrial Development Organization. That's it. I got it. I got it. Where is my live stream? Yeah. So yeah, it's United Nations Industrial Development Organization. Check them. They are on Facebook. I think they are on Instagram as well. then of course they have a website that you can go to and follow. Search for the UNIDO shoe pattern engineering course. Search for that. The UNIDO shoe pattern engineering free course. Sign up for it. Excellent course. Excellent course. Yeah. Any other question here? I don't think there's any other question. So I think I'll be ending the broadcast. We've been 55 minutes right now. I probably will just give you 5 more minutes. Let me look at the KLAN WhatsApp group and see if there are any question also there. Uh, Somebody is saying the applicator is not meant for polishing, throw it away. Exactly, it is not. If you check, if you go back 50, 70 years ago and ask your grandfathers what that applicator is meant for, it is meant for applying soap on your beer so that you can be able to shave easily. Two things it does: it makes the people who make polish love it because you waste polish using it. Use a lot of polish. And if you notice, the aboki people who polish shoe, and I don't mean aboki as a derogatory term, I'm actually using it as a term of style. I love those guys. I believe that with proper training they can do very, very well. But if you see that those guys, what they do is they cut it short so that it doesn't consume polish too much. What's that telling you? That you actually don't need so much wax to get very, very good shine. Do this thing that I'm telling you. Use your fingers to apply your polishes and see whether you wouldn't get better results. Beloved Bespoke, how are you? You're a very big fan of the channel. I'd like to recognize you. Thank you very much for being here. He said, can we get the presentation in PDF? Oh, certainly. I'll make the presentation available in PDF. I'll PDF and put it in a comment that you can download free of charge. That's completely yes. Thank you. Ibrahim Lawal says, I'm a KLAN member and thanks for the lectures. It meant a lot. Thank you very much, Ibrahim. God bless you. Thank you. Yeah. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I've had a swell time with this 1 hour that we have spent here. God bless you. So key things that I'm supposed to do. If I locate that UNIDO free online course, I'll put it in the comments. And then, of course, the PDF to this presentation, I'll put it somewhere in the comments. And then the PDF to the UNIDO shoe pattern engineering course textbook, I would also put it in the comments. God bless you guys. Have a lovely time. Sleep well. Peace.